Mummy's sick, but she still smiled. The autumn air was crisp and golden as James Mitchell made his way through Central Park, his footsteps crunching softly on the fallen leaves that carpeted the winding path. The late afternoon sun filtered through the bare branches above, casting long shadows that danced and swayed in the gentle breeze. In his hand, he held a cup of coffee that had long since grown cold. Forgotten in his preoccupation with thoughts of work and deadlines, it had been 3 months since his encounter with little Emma in the office building. 3 months since a 6-year-old girl had reminded him that birthdays were meant to be celebrated. True to his promise to himself that night, James had begun leaving work earlier, taking walks in the park instead of staying chained to his desk until the cleaning crew arrived. The park was quieter now than it had been in summer. Fewer joggers pounded the paths, fewer families spread blankets on the grass. But there was something peaceful about autumn in the city, something that made James feel more connected to the world around him than he had in years. He found his favorite bench, the one that overlooked the small pond where ducks gathered hopefully for breadcrumbs from passing visitors. As he settled onto the worn wooden slats, James allowed himself a moment to simply breathe, to watch the water ripple in the fading light. "Excuse me, Mr." The small voice made him turn, and James felt his heart skip a beat. Standing beside the bench was a little girl with curly blonde hair and bright blue eyes, wearing a navy blue coat that was slightly too big for her small frame. She looked to be about Emma's age, maybe a year older, and she clutched a small brown paper bag in her hands. "Yes," James said gently, setting his coffee cup aside. The girl shifted from foot to foot, her sneakers scuffing against the path. "Atia, you sad?" she asked with the directness that only children possessed. James blinked, surprised by the question. Why do you ask? You look sad, like my mummy sometimes looks when she thinks I'm not watching." The girl climbed onto the bench beside him without invitation, her legs swinging freely since they didn't quite reach the ground. "I'm Sophie, by the way." "Hello, Sophie. I'm James." He glanced around the park looking for parents or guardians. "Are you here alone?" Sophie shook her head. "Mommy's over there, feeding the ducks. She sent me to get more bread from the vendor, but ... She held up the paper bag. "I bought something else instead." James followed her gaze and spotted a woman near the pond's edge, her back turned as she scattered crumbs for a small gathering of mallards. Even from a distance, he could see the careful way she moved, the slight stoop to her shoulders that spoke of exhaustion. "What did you buy?" James asked, curious despite himself. Sophie opened the bag and pulled out a chocolate chip muffin, still warm from the vendor's cart. "It's for my birthday party." "Well, not really for the party. It's for you." "For me." James felt an odd sense of déjà vu, remembering another little girl and another unexpected gift. "But Sophie, I don't even know you." "That's okay," Sophie said matter-of-factly. "You looked hungry and sad and ... She hesitated, her small fingers picking at the muffin wrapper. "My birthday party is tomorrow, and I wanted to invite someone nice." James felt his chest tighten. "That's very sweet of you, Sophie, but I'm sure your parents have already planned everything." Sophie's expression grew serious. "Older than her. Years it's just me and Mummy. And Mummy's sick, so she can't do a big party like other kids get. But she said she'd still make a cake and sing happy birthday, even if it's just us." The words hit James harder than he expected. He looked again at the woman by the pond, noting now the way she leaned heavily against the railing, the careful way she moved as if conserving energy. "What kind of sick?" James asked quietly. "The kind that makes you really tired all the time," Sophie explained, her voice dropping to a whisper. "She has to take lots of medicine, and sometimes she has to go to the hospital. But she always comes home, and she always smiles when she sees me." James felt something crack open in his chest, a familiar ache he had been carrying without realizing it. "You know, Sophie, I had a birthday recently too." A little girl shared her cupcake with me. Sophie's eyes lit up. "Really? Was it good?" "It was the best birthday present I'd ever received," James said honestly. "And now you're offering me a muffin. Do you want to come to my party?" Sophie asked hopefully. "It won't be fancy or anything, just cake and maybe some balloons, if Mummy feels strong enough to blow them up. But Mummy says the best parties are the ones with people you care about." James looked at this brave little girl who was facing her mother's illness with such grace, who was worried about a stranger's sadness on a park bench, who was willing to share her birthday with someone she'd just met. He thought about his own childhood birthdays, elaborate affairs thrown by nannies while his parents worked late at the office. He thought about the emptiness of his recent years, the wealth that couldn't buy the warmth this child was offering freely. "Sophie, I would be honored to come to your party," he said finally. Her face absolutely radiated joy. "Really? Oh, Mummy will be so happy. She worries that I don't have enough friends." "Sophie," the woman's voice carried across the path tinged with concern. "Where are you, sweetheart?" "That's Mummy," Sophie said, sliding off the bench. "Come meet her." Mummy made a new friend. James stood and followed Sophie toward the pond, his heart pounding with nervous anticipation. The woman turned as they approached, and James saw immediately where Sophie had gotten her bright eyes and gentle spirit. Despite the pallor of her skin and the dark circles beneath her eyes, her face lit up when she saw her daughter. "Sophie, you can't just run off like that," she said softly, then noticed James. "Oh, hello, I'm sorry if she bothered you." "Not at all," James said quickly. "I'm James Mitchell. Sophie and I were just having a conversation about birthdays. I invited him to my party." "Mummy," Sophie announced proudly. He looked sad, and I thought maybe he needed cake too. The woman Sarah, she introduced herself, looked between her daughter and James with a mixture of surprise and maternal protectiveness, but something in James's expression must have reassured her because her shoulders relaxed slightly. "That's very thoughtful of you, Sophie," Sarah said carefully. "But Mr. Mitchell probably has important things to do tomorrow." "Actually," James said, "I can't think of anything more important than celebrating Sophie's birthday, if you'll have me." "That is—" Sarah studied his face for a long moment, perhaps seeing something there that convinced her of his sincerity. "It won't be much of a party," she warned. "Just the three of us and a homemade cake." "Those are the best kind," James said, and meant it. As they exchanged information and made plans for the following day, James felt something shift inside him, the same warmth he had experienced in that empty office building months ago. Sophie skipped between them, chattering excitedly about her party, and Sarah smiled, really smiled for the first time since James had met her. Walking home through the golden autumn evening, James realized that sometimes the most precious invitations come from the smallest hands, and the most important celebrations happen not in boardrooms or ballrooms, but in the living rooms of people brave enough to share their joy with strangers. Tomorrow, he would celebrate a little girl's birthday, and maybe, just maybe, he would discover that the family he had always been searching for had been waiting for him on a park bench all along.